It's working. Oh, that was me. I don't, yeah, just. This won't lie here flat. There's not enough room. Well, welcome everybody. It's great to have you here today. Thank you very much for coming. I want to welcome our elected officials, our judges, our department heads, our chiefs of police, everybody from law enforcement, and I'm not leaving out the sheriff, of course, but I'm not naming individuals here. Members of the defense bar, our managers from the DA's office, our attorneys, and our staff. Thank you for coming today. I want to especially recognize just a couple of people. I make that three. One is Ray Pacioni, Jeannine's father. Ray, could you go ahead and stand up? There you are. And also his fiancée, Joanne Arcangelo. Go ahead and stand up. They came here from Arizona. And I also want to recognize Phil Penko, Jeannine's significant other. It started already. Jeannine's significant other, who is in the trenches with her every day. I hate to refer to a relationship as a trench, but there's some truth to that. So today we're here to swear in our new elected DA, Jeannine Pacioni. And it's not something that we do very often here in Monterey County. There's 58 counties in California, and in the last 28 years since Dean has been DA, in 57 of those counties, there have been new DAs who've come and gone, and in most of those counties, it's happened multiple times. In most places, as soon as you get to know the elected DA, it's time to get to know a new one, but not here. 28 years, I mean, think about that. I mean, what have you had for 28 years? I mean, we've got deputy DAs working in our office who weren't born 28 years ago. And, most of us haven't had the house we've lived in for 28 years. Most of us haven't had a spouse or a significant other for 28 years. So it's a long time. And so today is certainly a unique but auspicious occasion for us. And what I wanted to do today was just try and identify a couple of themes. Obviously, one of them is change. And so I tried to find some quotations, so I didn't have to do too much thinking, or at least so I'd sound somewhat intelligent. And so I found this one. Nothing is so painful to the human mind as a great and sudden change. That's Mary Shelley from Frankenstein. Now that's probably not an appropriate quotation for an investiture. I mean, a change is bad Frankenstein quotation. Probably isn't the way to go here. But by the way, and I just have to tell you this, I have a cold today. And colds are very painful to me. And to deal with them, I take medication to ease the pain. And so, it's the chief assistant DA. I'm trying to please two bosses that I can't please at the same time, believe me. I'm in a public forum. And I'm sick, and I'm on medication. What possibly could go wrong? Well, we'll find out more. All right, so I found another quote. I found this quote. To improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. And Winston Churchill said that. So who's right? Mary Shelley from Frankenstein or Winston Churchill? Of course, for me, Churchill's always right? But the truth is they're both right in a certain way. And I think the way to understand this is to think back on your days of studying Plato, right? So, the soul is divided into three parts. And the two that are relevant for us today is the appetitive part, and that's your emotions, that's your desires. The other part is the rational, the thinking. And in our appetitive part of our soul, we're afraid of change, right? We like things to be easy, and we like things to, go along with it, right? It makes us feel comfortable. But in the rational part, I would submit to you that change is good. I mean, life is change. Nature is change. Judge Phillips is bored, but the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, Judge, and it's changed a lot in that time. Okay, if you watch those science shows on TV, you learn that, right? And so existence is change, and therefore it's good. And change it's really just a fundamental, it's a fundamental element of living. So that's one theme, change. Another one, Jeannine is going to be the first female elected DA in the history of our county. So another theme today is that this is the year of the woman. It's the second time we've had this in politics. Obviously, Jeannine didn't get elected because she's a female. She got elected based on merit. But think about it. In Monterey County, we have a female public defender, Sue Chapman. We have a female presiding judge, Lydia Villarreal. We have a female chief of probation, Marcia Parsons. And we have so many female department heads and female chiefs of police. If I were to try to name them all, I would definitely leave out someone very important. But what I would like to do is I would like to do this. If you're a woman and you lead your department or organization of any kind, if you chair a board, I'd like you to, or if you're a female elected official, I would like you to stand up right now. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you all for your accomplishments. So if you're still seated out there and you're a man, watch out. And you're in a leadership position, definitely look out. So there's a long list of Jeannine's great attributes, and we're going to hear and experience a lot of those today throughout this program, but I wanted to get a start on them myself. The first thing I always think of when I think of Jeannine is I think of how strong she is. She's very courageous. She'll fight for what she believes in. She's driven to do the right thing, not the thing that is in her short-term personal interest. She believes in team. She believes that the credibility of our office is best reflected when we act as a team. And she will team with others outside the office. She's also a collaborator. In our polarized politics these days, compromise is seen as weakness. She doesn't operate that way. She'll compromise up to the point where it's progress rather than appeasement, and to not past the point of sacrificing her values and her beliefs. She's a cool customer. She's calm under fire. She doesn't display any fear or trepidation. She's decisive, but she listens. She's imaginative, and she's a leader. She's also a mother with 3 wonderful children. And it's my pleasure now to introduce one of her 2 sons, Dominic Nolly. Dom is a junior at Palma High. He's an academic who actually likes math and is interested in sports management. He's a star forward for the Chieftains varsity football team, and he has a serious interest in law enforcement. and I hope that he's going to end up being a cop. Gabriel will now deliver our invocation. Please welcome Gabriel Nolly. Dominic Nolly.
So I'm actually going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now my brother Gabriel Nally will do the invocation.
Please join me in the invocation. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Pray that, for the glory of God and in pursuit of his justice, I may be trustworthy with his confidences, keen in study, accurate in analysis, correct in conclusion, able in argument, loyal to my community, honest with all, courteous to my adversaries, ever attentive to conscience. Stand always beside me, so that today I shall not, to win a point, lose my soul. Pray that my family may find in me what yours found in you, friendship and courage, cheerfulness and charity, diligence in duties, counsel in adversity, patience in pain, their good servant and God's first. Amen. Father and Son, the Holy Spirit. Please join me in welcoming my sister, Jeannine Pacioni.
What could possibly go wrong? So let me introduce Gianna. Gianna is Jeannine's daughter. There she is. She is a sophomore at Northeastern University in Boston. She has a scholarship there, and she's doing really well. She was selected for a paid internship this semester at a prestigious Boston brokerage firm. Please welcome Gianna Nolly.
Thank you all for coming today to support my mother and her accomplishments. Even as a child, it was clear to me that my mom's goal was to one day be the DA of Monterey County, partially because I couldn't see her in any other position where she wasn't an authority figure, but mostly because she made her passion for justice very clear to my brothers and me. She thrived off of preparing for trials and enthusiastically tried to get us excited about the cases she was working on well over dinner. It was no surprise to me, nor I'm sure to anyone, when she announced her campaign to run as DA. She's worked hard for this moment, and I know that she will transcend being just a leader because success to her is measured not in title or position one holds, but rather the quality of work and the legacy one leaves. For as long as I can remember, choices have always been the cornerstone of my mother's identity. It is her belief that we choose the paths in which we take, and these paths will lead us to what we will be. For my mother, she chose the path of success. I would call success her ability for years to raise 3 smart, talented, and somewhat responsible children, all while being an amazing attorney. It would be insufficient to say that it required just a little time, a little energy, and a little hard work for her to be able to stand where she is today. She has forfeited opportunities to lead a life in which work and home life would ask less of her because she knew that her choices to pursue her dreams and her passions successfully would require her utmost attention. Ultimately, her sacrifices worked. She has reached her goal, something I've known she's wanted for years, and I'm proud of her. Her accomplishments extend beyond the workplace, however. You can ask any one of my friends about her, and I will guarantee that they will call my mom a badass, because she is. In addition to her go-getter attitude, she is a strong advocate for women's rights, and has inspired many young women to pursue their own passions, myself included. I think it would be reckless of me not to acknowledge the greater implications of her success. While she has reached her own personal goals, she has also made history in becoming the first female DA in Monterey County. That within and of itself is an amazing accomplishment. My hope is that this moment in time will lead to a greater inclusion of women in leadership positions in Monterey County, which will ultimately strengthen us as a community. My mother attained her dreams through hard work, determination, and I know she will lead successfully in this position because of her affinity for excelling in all aspects of her life, especially the workplace. Much like when I was a child, I can say that who she is, both as a mother and as an attorney, has inspired much of my own aspirations and dreams, and ultimately to say that I am not just proud of all of her accomplishments would be an understatement. Thank you.
Our next speaker needs no introduction. He has just completed a 43-year tenure at the Monterey County DA's office. My boss, the greatest DA in the history of Monterey County, Dean Flippo.
Well, hello, everyone. Where's Judge Guy? Members of the bench, my former colleagues, the chiefs, Sheriff, good to see you, and all the members of the DA's office and all friends and supporters. Burke, I don't know what kind of drugs you're on, but I think they were wearing off just on your intro of me because you were absolutely spot on with those comments. But you've got everyone mixed up, and you've got Jeannine with Phil, and I just the gossip columns are going to have a real lot of fuel here. This is a momentous event for Jeannine and certainly for the office and the whole community. And it's a change of power. That's what it is. And I kind of, as I was sitting there, it just hit me, Jeannine. You have to appreciate, I'm like President Barack Obama when he had to sit there at the inauguration when President Donald Trump came in, And different styles, everything else. But I think this change is wonderful for the office, for the community. And I think Jeannine, in fact, I have no doubts that Jeannine is going to leave her mark on our community. Your family, Gianna, Dominic, Gabe, your father, I know they are proud of you. And they have good cause to be proud of you because you have accomplished a lot. My role right here is to talk a little bit about Jeannine, the Jeannine that I have known. And Burke has already used all the adjectives that I was going to use. Thanks, Burke. But I can't take exception to anything that you've said. But Jeannine came to us from the Central Valley. She'd been over there in, Kern County, I think it was. And they practice law a little bit differently over there. And we're on the Central Coast, and, our police work is a little bit different, and our attitude's a little bit different. And they're badasses over there in Kern County. And Gianna, if I had called your mother a badass, I don't know, the Me Too movement would have been all over me, I think. But she came in, and after about 2-3 years practice over there, and wanted the job. And I just kind of got the feeling you don't say no to her unless you are really, you have the investigators behind you, backing you up, and they're carrying their weapons. And she came in, and for all the young deputy DAs out there, she was aggressive. She was eager to try cases. She was eager to learn, and she did extremely well. And our managers back at those, back in those days, they were impressed with her. Then she decided to begin her family, and she left. And for me, out of sight, out of mind, you know, we just move on to the next deputy DA, need someone to fill in the court, and, you know, keep going forward. But Jeannine, she did some things in the office that I'm going to tell you a little bit about. Normally we keep these things to ourselves. But when she came back, you know, she was raising her family, beginning her family, and the county, you know, we don't have nurseries in the county. We don't have, I don't know what you call it, daycare type centers. Now, times have changed now, but Jeannine was a forerunner in this, and she decided she was going to establish her own daycare center, and I think it was for you, Gianna. I think so. And the only thing is, I never knew anything about it. She kept her door shut, and I would go around and say, she's really serious, and I would commend her, you know, for her diligence. She wasn't out there gossiping. I figured she was working on cases. Little did I know that she, you know, she had you, I guess, in the office all day long, you know. So what I learned from that is, just as Burke was saying, she is an action person. And you are going to be amazed in our community at the projects that she is going to accomplish. And she, after she came back, she'd been away, you know, raising the kids, and she kind of had to catch up to everyone. But she was diligent. She had to find all about the changes in the law, and she did well. And she came to me at one point in time and said, you know, Dean, I would like to have an opportunity to advance within the office. And I commend her for showing her desire, her intentions, motivations, and I took advantage of it and gave her more and more work, more and more serious cases, which she always performed well in. Some of you may remember we had a case, the Ollinger case, and it had taken us 5, 6, 7 years to get that case to trial. And we had gone through a number of deputy DAs. There had been a number of defense lawyers. And I just told Jeannine, come on in, I'm giving you this case, and your mission in life is to get that case to trial. And she said, okay, and she did. She delivered, and we finally got that matter resolved where I think justice was done. Jeannine is a leader. Much to the chagrin of some of the people in the office, because she heads the softball team, she heads the bowling team, and if she wants you to get out there and bowl or bat or whatever, it's tough to say no to her, tough to say no. And she is in the middle of trying to enhance the morale in the office, and she's going to continue to work with all of that staff. Just as she has done when she was an assistant DA and before that a deputy DA. I think that in order to be the DA, and I would assume in any field, whether it's a judge, a supervisor, you have to recognize that you have to be well-grounded. You have to be able to make decisions. Burke said that she's courageous. Well, there's one thing to be courageous, and you can be foolish too. But you have to make right decisions for the right reasons. And your goal, I believe, is to see that justice is done. You need to protect victims who didn't ask to be victims. You need to protect our community from those who are criminals and who would prey upon the innocent. But at the same time, you have to have the courage to be compassionate to all parties, and that could even be the defendant. Those are decisions that you're going to have to make. You are going to be making decisions, Jeannine, that are not going to be very popular sometimes. They're not going to be popular to the community. The media may not look upon them kindly. Your staff may be upset with you. But you've got to do what you believe is right. And to me, the thing that I see in you is you, in your inner core, you are strong. You have a sense of what is right, what is proper, and you will go to the ends within the rules to see that your goals are accomplished. So you can't allow those people who would criticize you to make you deviate from your pursuit of justice. I know that you will love the office, and I know you love the office as much as I did, and as much as so many of our people that work there. And that is important because when you love something, you want to nurture them, you want to protect them, you want to improve it, and you want to make them better. Just the same kind of goals that you would have in raising your children. My cautionary comment to you is the job can be overwhelming. It can absorb you. So attend to your own well-being too. Attend to your family. Find that balance, and you will be successful for the rest of your life, both in your personal life and your professional life. Now, all of the praise, this is what you're hearing from Bert, Gianna, myself, but let me tell you that she does have a fault. Phil, what was the list that you gave me, how many faults she had? I forgot which one, yeah. I would go down to court and I would watch, the attorneys. And I'm down there watching Jeannine, and Jeannine she's a fiery advocate, and she's in court. And I'm watching her, and she takes exception to some defense objection, and she rolls her eyes. And after watching this particular defense lawyer was causing her to roll her eyes continually. And so, and I don't think that's appropriate for prosecutors. I'm not speaking for the defense bar, but even when I was a defense lawyer, I never rolled my eyes. And I don't think it's, maybe appreciated by the bench, the judges. So I called Jeannine in. You remember that, Jeannine? Yeah. She's struggling not to roll her eyes right now. I'll tell you, she is. So I give her, I'm mentoring her, and I give her the advice. You have to be professional, and you cannot distract the jury by using whatever method you're using. That takes away from the opposition. They're entitled to have a fair trial and all of that. So I give her this lecture, and she is sitting there stoically, just like she's sitting right now, with her hands folded in her lap, looking at me. The only thing is she's got a little bit of a smile on her face, but she never had a smile when I was critiquing her. So I gave her this little lecture. Jeannine, you're doing great, but don't show that you are very upset with the line of questioning either from the judge or from the defense lawyers. And so Jeannine says, all right. She just kind of nodded to me. And as she got up, I kid you not, it was. So that's the only advice I got for you that how you can improve. All I can tell you is staff, as she rolls her eyes at you, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Jeannine, it's been a delight working with you all these years. I am very confident that the office is in great hands. I think the community is going to be served well by you, and I can't think of a better person to go forward. And you will provide great leadership to the law enforcement community. And don't forget, you are the chief law enforcement officer in the county, just as the Attorney General, Javier Becerra, is the Attorney General of the state of California. He is the chief law enforcement officer. You have 57 colleagues that you will be working with. All of them are elected, and they are the chief law enforcement officers in each one of their respective counties. I know that you will do Monterey proud in your associations and relations with them. I know that you will serve the law enforcement community well. And I think most importantly, you will protect your staff, you will fight for them, and I can do nothing but wish you the best of luck. I know you're going to be a very successful DA for many terms to come.
You know, I love our next speaker. I really do. Jeannine Guy has been a judge up in Santa Cruz for 12 and a half years. She was a deputy DA here in our office 12 years before that. Jeannine is Jeannine's best friend. And yes, it is true that I am around them so often that I often call one the other and confuse their names at the most inappropriate times. And you're thinking, well, that would be today would be the most inappropriate time that could happen. Actually, no. And I'll leave that with you. But ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable and my beautiful wife, Jeannine J. Guy.
About Jeannine. So I wanted to touch on some areas about Jeannine's life and what's behind the briefcase, what's behind the suits and the court appearances and the press conferences that you usually see her in front of. So since coming to Monterey County in 1992 to set down roots, she came here to be part of this community. Well, in her legal practice, she decided she would build her family. She would raise her children. And during that time, practicing law, balancing family, she was listening, she was participating, and she was contributing to fill needs and make an impact. As a county department head, she must know the community that she serves. She does. She's been studying this community since 1992. She's been serving the community on various boards and organizations she's been part of. She is getting to know all of you, getting to know what Monterey County needs, what it wants, how it works, and who to work with to get things done. Always in the field and never sitting on the sidelines. Jeannine immersed herself in her children's schools. So we have the International School of Monterey, Santa Catalina, Palma, always the room mother. And there was times I'm like, you don't have to be the room mother every grade. Oh no, she's on it, she's got it, and she is coordinating everything to a T. The team parent, always volunteering to help every group, club, organization to meet its potential and the children involved in that organization. She's organized softball and bowling teams, and I know why that was already mentioned is because I just took this speed tour of the amazing, beautiful office that the DA's office has now. There was like trophy cases with big bowling pins in them. So it's definitely a sense of pride that Jeannine and her teams have brought the office. She's out working at the rodeo. She is serving meals. She's staffing tables at all these different community functions. She's a passionate president, board leader of every philanthropic organization she joins. She just doesn't just become a member. She's like all in and there 100%. While raising infant twins and a preschool daughter, she was sworn in as a civil grand jury. Do you know how many people deflect that great opportunity? The judges can tell you, we interview community member after community member. We're begging them to serve. She steps right up. She's got little tiny kids. She steps right up. And people are looking at her like, really? And she just took that on. And that organization is little known. That's an organization that actually investigates and gets to know the various county organizations and agencies and reports to the community how local government is doing, not only county but city as well, to serve the residents. The saying that goes, if you want something done, you ask the busiest person you know. That's Jeannine, always has been. She's a doer. But I also have to tell you, this doer is also a delegator. She believes in giving others an opportunity to lead and explore. She invests in other people's potential and often is cheering other people on. She has a drive and enthusiasm for learning. Learning about you, your children, your parents, what you do, how you're connected with who and why, all the details. How many of you have gotten to know her on that very personal level? Most of you have. She's the product of being well-loved by her parents, Pat and Ray, her family, her children, and those of us who have become her extended family. She keeps friends. She works her relationships in a very serious way because they're important to her. In her early childhood, she spent a year in Greece, and we were talking about this just this week, and talking about how important and impactful that is to have this global view of the world. She is a global citizen. Global citizens are conscientious, they're empathetic, they're compassionate, and they're responsible. And she's had that since being a young person. Most people are off to college doing, the expected. She's quite often, and Ray could tell you, she often did the unexpected in those formative years and brought her to this position. She has friends living all over the world, and she'll tell you all about them too, but she also goes and visits them. In fact, they just got back from a trip. She and her partner Phil just enjoyed the diversity. I'm not on medications. Sorry, Phil. They enjoy diversity and wide interest in culture. In fact, they went to Europe, and they went to Denmark and Slovenia and Italy to not only enjoy their heritage, but also to really experience what the locals do. Experiences that only many of us dream about. She's already done, or she's planning. She's way out in front of us. She's a lawyer that wants to go beyond what the practice of law is and see what is behind there. She has a thirst of knowledge, constantly going to conventions and conferences. So it's like, where's Jeannine? Oh, she's at a conference. She is always learning something, right? So that is really very common. And most people don't even know how laws are made. Well, she wanted to know, and so she went to Sacramento as part of the California State Public Affairs Committee for Junior League. 32 people are sent as leaders to coordinate and collaborate with state legislators. And those 32 people are our representatives for women voters throughout the state. So focusing on family support issues, education, health, violence prevention, that organization has over a dozen pieces of legislation that have become law. There's Jeannine, organizing a regional conference, meeting lawmakers to co-author legislation and bring about change in our state. Being the district attorney is an exciting, fascinating leadership position. It's a unique position in the community where you listen and bring people together. Getting people out of their silos to come together and promote and bring about change is something that is definitely the wave of not only law enforcement but legal practice. And the judges have definitely seen a dramatic change in how the legal community works together to bring about a result for communities, at least in this last 6 years especially. So she has that experience. You saw her in the early years in the formation of the SARC, the Sexual Assault Response Team, and that was a project, and Dean talked about, she's going to be working on all these projects, but that kind of project was really instrumental, and the DA's office was the steward of that project and that program for 10 years before it was taken into the health department, where it also continues to thrive. So where's Lou? Lou Bauman, is he here? There he is. Lou, you're not going to look far to see that she's going to fill in gaps. She's going to be one of your best department heads to look and go, you know what, we're not just in our office, we're here working countywide, and this is how we're bringing people together. So this is a really exciting time. She promotes partnerships. She participates, she's prepared, and she's present. Now, at the work at hand, it was funny, I walk in and my aunt is here and she says, oh, do you want me to hold your coat? And I said, well, wait a minute, I don't have my coat on today. I brought my robe. I was asked here to handle the oath of office. So why do elected office holders have to take an oath? Why is that part of our history? Is that just something we do because that's just ceremonial? What is that? So the U.S. Constitution sets out a government with distinct independent branches, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. We all have very separate powers, and Dean talked about power. And so that is really appropriate to talk about the separate branches of government that all have separate powers. There's a lot of that discussion and checks and balances in the national scene right now. This framework for freedom ensures that we have a democracy that endures, preserving our liberties and advancing our rights. Oaths of office and allegiance were often features for government for centuries. When we were just a colony to Great Britain, we swore an allegiance to the king. So when the subject of an oath came up among our founders at the first Federal Constitutional Convention, they were divided. Should an oath in a free country be required at all? And that's an interesting issue because they really did go to bat over that. Should state officials, and so there was a big conversation and a fight between federal power, state power. Should state officials swear an allegiance to the federal constitution, or should federal officials swear allegiance to uphold state constitutions? There was a big rift over that. Those of you that are really into Hamilton, like a lot of us are right now, you know that that's definitely the theme of that Broadway play, but American history shows that over and over is still a tension. But respecting and upholding both federal and state constitutions in the oath of office for elected officials is ingrained in our U.S. history. And today, the oath of office for Jeannine Pacioni will be ingrained in Monterey County's history as well. Will you please join me? All right. Please raise your right hand. I, Jeannine Pacioni, do solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties about which I'm about to enter. About which I'm about to enter. You're done. Thank you.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you, everyone, for coming today and supporting this investiture. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, and it's an honor that so many of you have shown up today. Thank you, Judge Guy. It's pretty cool having a smart, talented, creative, artistic, beautiful woman as your best friend. And she's been my best friend since I joined the DA's office back in 1992. And she's kind of my soulmate. Plus, you know, she did get my wedding dress when it arrived because we were both getting married about the same time, and they wanted to deliver the dress to her. She said, well, I already have my dress. I don't know whose dress this is. And fortunately, she figured out that it was my dress. So I'm thankful for that. Well, that was my first marriage. Sorry. We're not going back there. So I do feel very blessed to be standing up here taking the oath of office before everyone today. And I wanted to thank a few people, although there have been so many people who have been supportive, but I do want to point out a few people. First of all, I'd like to thank Dean Flippo. Dean has been a great role model for me. He's been a great mentor. He hired me to work for him not once, but twice after having children. He has provided me with so many opportunities to handle significant cases as a trial prosecutor. And then later, when I went to him and asked to be appointed, to be given more challenges, he in fact did do that. And as his assistant, I've been for 4 years working on administrative things, and it's been a real joy to do that and learn under his tutelage. And Monterey County has been blessed to have that service by a leader like Dean for 28 years, and it's not often in DA's offices you actually get that. And so Monterey has been privileged, and I wanted to recognize him for that. So thank you, Dean. I would also like to thank and acknowledge my family, my father, who is here today, and my mother, who is not. My mother was my biggest fan and supporter. She was always encouraging to me. She was always there for wise counsel, always had a laugh and a smile. My father is a self-made man. He comes from humble roots, and he has taught me the value of hard work. He worked tirelessly as we were growing up to provide for our family. Very determined and very focused to reach his goals. In fact, every year we would go out to dinner. He and my mother would take us out to dinner at one of those restaurants that had like butcher paper on the table and the crayons. And he would go around the table and tell us to list out our goals. And so we'd have to list out our goals for the year. And then we'd go around the table and say how and why. What strategies would we use to accomplish our goals on that list? It was something he always did growing up, and it was something he always did as an adult. You could go into his office, and his whiteboard would, at the back then it was a chalkboard, but his board would have his list of goals, there for everyone to see what his goals were. And so he taught me those things, and I credit him with my determination to succeed when facing a challenge, and so thank you, Dad. My children, you've already met. Well, actually, you haven't really met them because it kind of got put together in one child, but they are two. They're twins, but the boys are separate. They're individual and they're unique. All of my children are smart, capable, athletic, creative in their own ways. I'm very proud of them. I love them very much, and as my mom would say, I love you to pieces. Thank you for your patience this last year as I was campaigning and moving down this track. I realized that it was difficult for you, and I apologize in advance for any absences that this job will demand in the future during your time before you head off to college. To Phil Penko, my partner, sounding board, head cheerleader, and pretty much the doer of anything that needs to be done. Thank you for your unfailing support and love. So being a prosecutor is a unique, very different type of lawyer. It's really unlike any other type of law. In most forms of law, you have a client, and it's either a person or a corporation, and your obligation is to advocate on behalf of your client within the boundaries of the law. Well, a prosecutor is different. A prosecutor does not have that relationship. The relationship is different because our duty, our obligation, is to seek justice. To be a zealous advocate as an officer of the court and use our sound discretion and independent judgment when doing that. Our client is the state of California. It's not one person, it's everybody in our community. And more pointedly, the community of Monterey County. This is something I take quite seriously, and if you've talked to any of the prosecutors I've worked with, the term justice is constantly in my vocabulary. I'm thankful that I'm surrounded by fellow prosecutors that also feel this way. For example, Berkeley Brannon. Well, today he might be on meds. But our chief assistant district attorney went to law school in order to be a prosecutor. He has served Monterey County for over 30 years as a prosecutor. His entire legal career has been with the Monterey County District Attorney's Office. He's handled every type of case you can imagine. Death penalty cases, child molest cases, robberies, prisons. He's been a manager for over 10 years, probably longer than that. He is a huge asset to our office and to our community. And I'm blessed and feel very honored to have his support in my new role as district attorney. He is a scholar, a teacher, friend, a comedian. He's considered the big brain in our office, and he occupies a corner of our office, and he is the answer man. And so I'm thankful, and I want to acknowledge him as we move forward together and have his support. So thank you, Burke. I've been asked how I feel about being the first female district attorney in Monterey County, and I do acknowledge that, and I'm honored by that fact. Women are increasingly taking leadership roles nationwide, statewide, and certainly in Monterey County. We have, as Dean mentioned, 58 district attorneys in the entire state of California. There are 28 female elected district attorneys now, something that there's never been before. So we are catching up, and we will succeed in passing you, so beware. Our judicial bench, as Burke mentioned, is majority female, led by a female presiding judge, public defender, probation officer. The criminal justice system in Monterey County is run by women. In our own office, the majority of our prosecutors are female. It's a trend that we, I think, are going to continue working on. But I am honored, and I am thankful for this opportunity. I look forward to working collaboratively with my criminal justice partners to find common ground while remaining vigilant in my duty to seek justice for the community of Monterey County. As your district attorney, I commit to the pursuit of justice and hold this responsibility sacred. And I'm very thankful for your support tonight and into the future. Thank you.
Okay, so now for the good part. It's the reception. 201 South Main. 201 Main. There we go. We're going to drink there, right? So head on down, join us, and look forward to seeing you there. Thank you. Thank you for coming today.